Cutting your sales cycle in half sounds pretty impossible, right? But that's exactly what Sandler Trading did with HubSpot. They used Breeze, HubSpot's AI tools, to tailor every customer interaction without losing their personal touch. And the results were pretty incredible. Click-through rates jumped 25%, qualified leads quadrupled, and people spent 3 times longer on their landing pages. You can go to HubSpot.com to see how Breeze can help your business grow. All right, good morning, everybody. Today is Tuesday, May 6th. I'm John Weigell here with Mark Dent, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. Hollywood is the topic of conversation today as President Trump dropped a bombshell with a proposed 100% tariff on foreign-made films entering the United States. As a result, companies like Netflix are feeling the market's sting. So what could happen if these tariffs actually go through, and how are media companies feeling about them right now? We'll get to that, but first, let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. First up today, parent company Microsoft officially laid Skype to rest yesterday after 23 years. It survived by its more corporate sibling, Microsoft Teams, where users can migrate their data to. Mark, it's the end of Skype. We heard about this before, but it is official now.
Yeah, I know. Lots of tears, lots of sadness.
So sad.
Skype, it did not live up to the moment, needless to say, from about March 2020 onward.
Yeah.
But before then, it was a revolutionary product, actually. I was reading a history on it. Yeah, like the international phone calls used to be so expensive in like the early 2000s and just very difficult. And Skype just reduced the cost greatly. They made it so easy. They more or less introduced the concept of a video call. Obviously, the iPhone came along and FaceTime is just easier. And Zoom somehow stole the verb. We all used to say, I'll Skype you. Now it's like, we'll Zoom or whatever.
Yeah, it really intercepted that verb. Me and my family, like a lot of my family's in Turkey, and the way that we would communicate is through Skype for a very, very long time, because that was the best method and the cheapest method. But yeah, they really somehow dropped the ball in 2020 and got usurped very quickly by Zoom. And then it's just kind of been downhill since then, unfortunately. So I'm just waiting for like other stalwarts like Uvu and Omegle to come out of the woodwork here and see if they still have a lifespan.
Yeah. And I mean, and it's just Microsoft Teams. It's so unfortunate that that's like the survivor and frankly, a dominant player, because it is the worst. Yeah. Anytime someone is like, oh, let me set up an interview with me, and they send a Teams invite, I give myself 15 minutes in advance to figure out what flaw there's going to be and, what kind of glitch, et cetera, that I'm going to have to prepare for, because it is the worst.
Yeah. I just remember in my last job having a PC, and every time I open it, Microsoft Teams immediately pops up. It became like muscle memory just to open the control panel and just delete it every time I got in there from the task manager. So that's my experience with Microsoft Teams. Never actually used it, but gotten rid of it a lot.
We need someone who's made like a lot of money in crypto to bring back Skype somehow, to give it a second life. I don't know.
That's right. It'll have its GameStop era soon enough, I'm sure. Next up, Skechers is being acquired by 3G Capital for $63 a share, which is a 30% premium on the footwear company's current valuation. Skechers, with its 5,300 stores, is actually the third largest shoe company in the world. So quite a big acquisition here, Mark, and another brand that, once again, like a Skype, was really big in the 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, the reason behind this move by Skechers is not nearly as interesting as like the company's history and its like affiliation with different youth subcultures and skating and things like that. This is just a tariff story, unfortunately. Everything is a tariff story. And what it appears is that the main reason why Skechers wanted to go private was because, when you're a private company, the quarterly reports don't matter as much. And everybody's so worried about not knowing what's going on with tariffs and a lot of other things that can affect the markets, that it's probably just a safer move, especially for a company like Skechers, which, according to the AP, has a significant amount of its sales go to China, around 15% of its revenue, and a huge portion in other overseas markets. So it's kind of like a thing where it sells a lot of shoes overseas, and obviously a lot of shoemakers, have their shoes made overseas. So it's like double the pain for some of these companies like Skechers.
Yeah, it really is. So, I mean, this may be a safer move actually to let this acquisition go through, but, still, they're getting socked up.
Yeah.
Now we move on to Google. Alphabet announced that it's adding 2,000 more autonomous Jaguars to its fleet in 2026, in addition to the 1,500 already operating in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Phoenix, and Austin. Waymo crossed 250,000 paid passenger trips per week, and it's eyeing expansion into Atlanta, Miami, and Washington, D.C. will all be in driverless vehicles soon enough. And finally here, getting into some Hollywood, in a year of movie duds, aside from, of course, the Minecraft movie and whatever that chicken thing is that the kids are crazy about, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has picked back up. Marvel's Thunderbolts beat box office expectations and earned about $76 million in the U.S. on opening weekend. Disney's Marvel investments will continue with a Fantastic Four film coming pretty soon, but I hope for everybody's sake that it's filmed in the United States. Okay, look, side hustles fail when they consume all of your time. I mean, every single bit of it. The pros, though, work smarter with AI doing all the heavy lifting. To help you out, we just dropped the Side Hustle Accelerator database. You can search your exact problem for your side hustle, grab the perfect prompt, and get results. If you're struggling with marketing, content, and customer service, it's all solved in just seconds. This isn't just another tool, guys. It's your unfair advantage in a spreadsheet. So stop asking AI the wrong questions and start scaling with what actually works. You can get it for free in the link in our show notes. And you can stop right now, actually. Why don't you take a look down at those show notes and tap the link. You don't want to sleep on this. Moving on to our main story today. Tariffs on everything have been a thing for a little bit, and now President Trump suggested tariffs for films made in foreign countries. So, Mark, what's going on here?
Well, it's pretty unclear right now, but this goes to something that President Trump posted on Truth Social over the weekend, where he said that there needed to be 100% tariffs on foreign-made movies. And it's, of course, just very unclear, exactly what that means and how you would tariff the distribution of a film necessarily. It's all very much up for grabs as to what could actually happen here. But it certainly has already created some concerns among the top media companies and among investors who have sold stock in those media companies. If you look at Netflix, it was down quite a bit when trading opened on Monday. Paramount Global, Walt Disney, they were all down. They recovered, I think, a little bit throughout the day, but still they were in worse position than they were in last week because of this unpredictability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is a great time to say again that nobody is safe, because up until yesterday or a few days ago, I think we all thought that Netflix was kind of getting away from this recession pretty easily, but it's coming for them as well. So definitely no industry is safe, but a lot of this filming does actually happen outside of the United States. A lot of these companies do film content outside of the US, and that's a lot because the US is a very expensive place to get a film made, especially out in Los Angeles. That's why you've been seeing a lot of films filming in Atlanta or New Jersey, or TV shows even have been filming across the country and out of the country instead of filming in the usual spots, because it is really, really expensive. And that's the issue here.
Yeah. And the New York Times actually just had a really good story on this 2 or 3 weeks ago, which I don't know, maybe Donald Trump read that story and then it was just okay, let's do this. Because it just exactly got into how it is so much cheaper to make movies overseas because of incentives, and labor tends to be a little bit cheaper. That is labor like camera operators, people who just work on the set. The sort of middle-class Hollywood jobs are a lot less expensive. And it's put people who have those middle-class Hollywood jobs in a bind. And, some data from that New York Times article showed that film and TV production is down by about a third in Los Angeles over the last decade. And there was this really good anecdote that they used to kind of illustrate the issue, which is about a game show called The Floor. And the host, who is Rob Lowe, and all the guests are flown over to Ireland to film every episode.
Wow.
And it's cheaper to do that than to just film it in California.
That's crazy. That's part of the big problem here. And it seems like if these tariffs are even a thing, if they even go through, we're all speculating here, but I guess the idea would be to move a lot of production back to the US, which means I think more TV shows and films that were going to get produced in a foreign country for cheap will now not get produced because they are getting produced in the US, which is significantly more expensive to make a show and get a return on it, or make a movie and get a return on it.
Yeah, I think that's like the huge question here. If these tariffs go through, like as you suggest, will it lead to just fewer shows and films being made because studios will say, well, to hell with this. If we have to pay more money, we're just not going to do it. That's one possibility. The good possibility, certainly for people in the industry in Los Angeles and in America in general, would be that, okay, well, because of these tariffs, maybe there will be more stuff made in the US, and that will lead to a little bit more jobs in this industry, which obviously could be a very good thing.
Sure.
But I think the third kind of part of this is, the Wall Street Journal had this statistic that the U.S. movie industry had a $15 billion trade surplus a couple years ago. So unlike a lot of these other kind of tariff-related measures, the U.S. is dominant at exporting movies. Mm-hmm. So other countries, in response to this tariff, if they have reciprocal tariffs, that could lead to like a crushing impact on the film industry, because then it's not only more expensive, to do filming here, but it's going to lead to probably more expenses overseas, which is where movies make a lot of their money, like in China, Europe, elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. China's a big consumer of American films. We know this. And, for companies like Netflix, it's definitely going to get a little harder. This from Quartz and Citigroup analysis. At Netflix, they spend about $17 billion per year on filming stuff. And 60% of that is original productions. And that 60%, half of it is produced outside of the US. So basically half of their original content is taken outside of the US, which is crazy. I mean, all those reality shows where they go to islands and stuff like that. So definitely cheaper to produce a thing in Malta than it is to produce it in LA right now. So these companies, these streamers are definitely going to be affected long-term as well.
And, for Netflix, though, I'd say throw out all of the analysis and I think just make a bet that they're just going to do like 12 seasons of Love is Blind every year, because that is a domestically produced, certainly domestically filmed reality show.
Yes, it is.
So they're just going to lean into that, I think.
That's the answer right there. All right, that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning in to the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of HubSpot Media. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. Go subscribe at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram at The Hustle Daily. We will see you tomorrow. Building a business can be really lonely. That's why The Hustle is proud to be the lead sponsor of the 2025 OOO Summit in New York City this May. It's the flagship event built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. You can join us for game-changing sessions from speakers like Andrew Yang, Ankur Nagpal, and Sahil Bloom, plus unmatched networking with fellow founders. The Hustle team will be there with exclusive merch and experiences that you won't find anywhere else, and you can click the link in the show notes and use code THEHUSTLE for $100 off your ticket. See you in New York.